Let's do it. Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. We've been meaning to do a um, movie review on this for a week or two now, so here it is. Let's get into
Yeah,
it.
most definitely. I think that the easiest thing for us to do, Dom, is go through pros and cons. And I like to end this little episode on a little happy note. I'd like to go with our cons first, if you have any that you remember. So if you could just shoot me some of your cons right now, man, let me know.
I think I would have liked to have had like a little bit of some more emotional beats, a little bit more of like an emotional connection. I think it's harder to do with these movies. I don't think it's impossible though.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think I felt like more emotionally connected to like the Netflix series, for example.
Yes.
Um
Yeah.
which you and I have talked about. It's been a while since we talked about that, but great
Yeah.
series. You put me onto that, so
Dude.
appreciate it. Really solid. But something like Guardians, you know what I mean, just had like packed this emotional punch multiple times. So, and I always love that sort of thing. Just I wanted to care more. Like I cared, but like in a different way,
Yeah. Most definitely. I get that 100%. So,
Do you?
Yeah. I don't think I went in expecting emotional beats like I did Guardians, which
Right,
is
right.
why I said I was disappointed in Guardians, because I was expecting like a complete gut punch from that movie. Reviews out, by the way. Don't plug it. I'm plugging it. Reviews out. Go check it out. Guardians, we already went through it. I expected a lot out of that movie and I didn't get it. And, I guess cons and stuff for this. With this movie, I wasn't expecting too much. So I went in really enjoying it for what it was. But we'll get into that later. Cons. Called Rise of the Beast. Okay. We get them for the first 5 minutes and the last 45 minutes or 30 minutes of the movie, So for me, it was disappointing because I grew up watching Beast Wars and falling in love with the characters in there. We didn't get the Predacons. We didn't get the Predacons, and then we just didn't see a lot of breathing with the Maximals, which was, Optimus Primal, Cheetor. Like, we just didn't get a lot of love from those characters in this movie, and I would like to see them be more developed. I get that they're kind of, we'll get into this later, but I get they're trying to create a new universe, and I loved how Optimus Primal was not trusting of the humans because he hasn't been there that long, and so they wanted him to breathe a little bit because Bumblebee already came out, but we just didn't get literally anything from the Maximals besides Air Razor, which was the Hawk, and Optimus Primal, which was the ape guy. So it just
He was sick though. I thought he was really sick.
He was sick. We didn't get any of that. Like growing up watching it and hearing this announcement that they were doing this and then seeing the finished product, I wonder where it went wrong with that, where they decided that they needed the regular Transformers group of guys. I'm spacing. There's like 6 different groups of guys now, and so this universe is also expanding. I thought that was kind of confusing, where there was the Transformers guys, very, it's in the name. There was the Transformers and the Maximals and the Predacons that weren't really in it, but the Terracons were in it.
You mean like the Autobots, right?
Oh, sorry, Autobots. And but we didn't get any of the
Decepticons.
Megatron, Decepticons, like
I
anything like
know.
that. It was just Terracons, Maximals, and Autobots, and there's like Maximals, Predacons, like or Terracons, Predacons. Like it's like almost I need them to breathe maybe a little bit with this, and I don't think they did enough in this movie. And so that's where I felt the movie felt short.
I wanted to see Decepticons too. I had told you that like in one of our last shows. I wanted to see Starscream and Megatron again.
Yeah. So I don't want them to make this new Hasbro verse, which obviously again we'll get into later. But I don't want them to make this Hasbro verse like the DCU. Like I don't need them to rush it, and it feels like they're semi-rushing it, where they're throwing a lot at us and they're not giving characters enough room to breathe in these movies. I don't want them to be like, we need 3 movies and that's it. Like, give us 6 movies before you want us to actually have some sort of collaboration with these guys. And they kind of threw that in the first movie right here, and I thought it was just a little bit premature. So we'll see what they do, but I enjoyed it. I don't know how you felt. I mean, overall, but
I still enjoyed it quite a bit. We forgot one of the what are they called? The Primals.
Primals, yeah. Rhinox. What are we talking here?
My favorite one was the cheetah.
Yeah,
What's
Cheetor. Yeah,
Oh, Cheetor. Oh, you already said that.
yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah,
Super
I
cool.
love him, but they didn't give him any like had like 3 lines the whole movie, right? And you're just
Yeah.
like,
He got to
Come
fight a
on.
little bit at least, but yeah, he's really cool.
yeah, he's a fan favorite in Beast Wars for
Mhm.
sure. You know, he's Optimus Primal's like right hand man. So it was like that's what I'm saying. Like it's just like, what are we doing here? You
Yeah,
know?
I've definitely seen Beast Wars, but I don't remember it super well. I definitely just watched the original more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even that has just been such a long time, but um, definitely always grew up loving Transformers.
So I'll ask you, did you think it was a well balanced movie in the fact that do you think the humans got enough time to shine where you understood their part, and did you feel like the robots, all of them, all the Autobots, all the Primals, like was it equally split for you? Because I know back in the day with Transformers, everyone felt like it was very much like a human story, and the Autobots played a secondary role in those movies. So,
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, and see, it's like I said, it's been so long since I've seen the animated series that like I don't remember the people a whole lot. Like,
oh, well, the animated series. Let's forget about the series.
oh,
Think
okay.
about the
Oh, okay.
movies. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Shia
Um,
LaBeouf.
Shia, yeah. Um, this movie's definitely not perfect. It still has like a lot of flaws, and to me, the pacing was a little weird sometimes. Um, and yeah, I do feel like it was not as balanced as it should have been, especially because I was really excited for the Primals,
Yeah.
and we definitely could have used more time with them. Um, I'm kind of going back and forth as far as like the story arc with Noah. Um, yeah, I don't know if we're still just mainly focusing on the cons, but I was just gonna kind of get into that story arc just a little bit because
It sounds like a pro. If you want to have it be a pro, let's get into the pros then.
yeah, so I had mentioned to you, like my brother Elijah, he loved, uh, he loved the Transformers, and he was a huge fan, especially the Decepticons. But I was thinking of him a lot, and then the story like is heavily based on this brother relationship, and so throughout the movie and afterwards, I couldn't help just feeling like more and more like I would have loved to have seen this with my brother Elijah. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You get it, I'm sure. So
100%. Yeah.
yeah, like I thought that story was pretty good for the most part. Like I liked it. It was different, and I liked that it was like it was definitely different from like Shia's story and his story arc that led him down like the path with the Autobots, that sort of thing. I thought it was cool. You know what I really liked actually, that I just thought was like kind of, you know, lighthearted um, and just kind of cool, is how like the little brother called Noah Sonic, and then Noah called him Tails. I like that a lot.
So cool.
Kind
Yeah.
of cute.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like on Noah's story, honestly, I think they did him really well, and like letting him have that um struggle in his life, but not overdoing it. Like they don't bring up his dad at all. His dad's not in the picture, and it's not like a big part of the picture at all. Who knows? Maybe he was spoilers. Maybe he was in the army and became a GI Joe, and something happened to him in that sense. And so, like, we just don't know what happened to his dad, and maybe that's why he joined the army, and that's why they have an interest in him. That would be cool. Theory time, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like if they can connect that later on down the line, that'd be awesome. But yeah, they like didn't overdo it with the characters, and I think they handled Noah really well in the aspect that he and Optimus Prime, if we're getting in the pros, were very much like didn't trust each other, and Noah wanted to protect his younger brother. I thought that was like a very cool story, where he is basically like an ex-military guy that no one wanted around because he couldn't do the job correctly, and he messed up and was selfish, and now he's back at home and he realizes that he needs to take care of his family, and like that's all he cares about. But Optimus Prime is literally the same exact way in the movie, where he feels like he let his people down, and now he's back, and this is all he cares about, and getting back to the war. So it was really interesting seeing how they handled the human aspect of this and the Autobot aspect of it with the Primals, or the Maximals, as we should call them. But yeah, I thought they did a super job, and I've heard a lot of people say that this is the best movie Transformers has come out with since the 2007 version of Transformers, right? Like the first Transformers movie, which I went back and rewatched that movie, and it is like just a good time.
Does it hold up?
Oh, 100% holds up.
Yeah.
The jokes
I wanna
yeah, everything in it, dude. It's a great movie.
yeah.
But that definitely
focuses see that again.
That focuses a lot more on the human aspect of it. And so like that's what I'm saying. Like I love they gave him some breathing room and Optimus some breathing room, but they didn't give like the Maximals like any breathing room. They're basically like dialogue to push the story forward. Like they were just there, you know what I mean? Which that's con, but everything else in like the actual movie I thoroughly enjoyed, and it brought back nostalgia from the TV show that you were talking about back in like the 80s, with like the suit that he gets at the end of the movie, and he's kicking butt, and like you saw kind of and that's why I love this movie. I think it's great for the future of the franchise, because it's very much character development on Noah's side, but Optimus' side, he had to go through a lot, and that's Optimus Primal like really helped him through that. Even though Optimus Primal, like I'm saying, is just a dialogue to get the story through the situation, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I honestly, if you told me to give it a number, I would say it was a 7.5 or 8 out of 10 because great popcorn flick, like just good time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you felt the same way, but I thought the animation or the CGI in it was like really good. I think they did a lot of great things for Optimus Prime and the Autobots. You know, the newer Transformers movies that came out before this really tried to do their own designs, and this is really falling back onto the old cartoon kind of style with different creatures or so I think it just did superb in that aspect. And again, the CGI in it was so phenomenal. You weren't like looking around wondering who was kicking who. Like Michael Bay has had some good movies, but like that whole aspect of his movies is very wonky, and this is very much like you can
start
tell
to kind of like blend together when they like get so close, like in combat.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of thing.
Yeah, and this is very like you can tell what's happening in the scene, especially when they're fighting each other, which was super cool. So, very few complaints, and it's doing better. You know, it's doing a lot better than Little Mermaid. So hopefully they come out with a second one. You know, if we could all just shoot for the stars on that one. But yeah. So.
Yeah, well said. I'll backtrack for a second because I guess I mentioned like not much of an emotional connection, but like where you do see it is in the brother relationship, I think, because that's kind of the arc that, or like a theme that's runs through the whole story, which again I liked, really liked their dynamics and their relationship, and just kind of like that part of the plot. He's trying to, I think, Noah's trying to keep being like that hero for his younger brother, which I think is really cool. And then but at the end, he kind of finds strength from his younger brother, which I like that too. So there was the emotional connection there.
Oh, and that's the thing too. Yeah, I got emotional for sure. I've been waiting for this character Mirage to show up in live action for quite a while. Like, I loved him in the cartoons. I loved him in the animated series that you've seen. And he is like this. I hate people that are like, oh, he's just trying to be like Bumblebee. Like, no, that's Mirage. Like, I don't know if you know Mirage, but that's Mirage. And I got to give a shout out to Pete Davidson for his voice acting and stuff in this. I thought he did fantastic, and I didn't even see Pete Davidson when he was talking. I don't know if it was just like voice modulation or what, but I didn't care. Like, I'm not a fan of Pete Davidson. I particularly don't like him per se, but I found like his version of Mirage, like I don't think anyone else could do it as good as he did it. So big shout out to that whole character, like big pro. That beat at the end with him and protecting him because his little brother told him like, you need to like take care of my brother.
Yeah, that was
good. That whole thing, like that was like very massive scene. And I see people like, oh, I didn't get attached to it like at all, like blah blah blah. Like, you're just a heartless, soulless person and you don't care about people. That's basically what I say, but yeah, no, that was phenomenally done. So really enjoyed it thoroughly.
Nice. I also wanted to mention RC. I think he's super cool. I mean, I loved her in the Netflix animated series. She's probably in the old animated show as well too, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
have
she's
her and
been around.
Optimus always like had a relationship?
Yeah, that was a thing back in the day. It was very
Okay.
much like an Optimus Prime and her got into it like further into like the episodes. So I'm glad they touched on that a little bit. It wasn't like well known in this, but yes, like they
Did they hint towards it?
slightly, but like not overbearing. Like you have to pay attention with how they interact with each other. But yes, like RC and him he always cared a lot about RC, and they ended up obviously like not marrying each other or anything, but they like had a special relationship back in the series. So
Yeah, she's really cool.
yeah,
She got some cool action scenes.
glad that she made it out alive for sure. Spoilers.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I thought the Terracons were handled really well. I love what they did with Scourge. I thought he was like probably one of the best villains, and it was a great base villain to start out with because they could just go up from there. If they want to introduce like Megatron and like another thing where Omnicron is like trying to get back in and Megatron is this next kind of person that he sends in there, like that's gonna be epic.
Yeah.
They also got to use the T-Rex guy from the Predacons. That'd be ridiculous. Can't wait for that. That's all right. Can't get overblown here. But I'll ask you.
I was just gonna say real quick, what you were saying about the CGI, I thought it was pretty good too, and like especially for the primals, like Optimus Primal in particular, like I kept just like looking at his design and everything, like it's crazy. Like, I feel like it really like pulls you into the world, and you're like focused on like the animal aspect and then also the robot aspect of his design. It was really good.
Yeah, because you see him transform in that final battle into his like robotic form rather than like his primal form, which is, you know, the car form of what that actual person looks like. So
what did they say at that point? What does he tell them to do? When he says primals and then like he tells them to do something.
I feel like he says his line, primals, maximals. Like he says like
maximize.
Is that what he says?
Yeah, he says maximize.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, dude, that's
a great part.
And that's what I'm saying. Like they like didn't have any payoff to that because that should be Captain America Avengers Assemble kind of situation.
I felt like that a lot too. Like that's kind of what it reminds you of.
But they didn't earn it. It was the first movie and the Maximals weren't in it at all. You know what I mean? Like it just felt kind of rushed.
I see.
For me,
how Avengers saved it for Endgame, that sort of thing. Like they built up to it. Yeah.
It took movies and series and everything for him to say that, and now they just dropped it in that first movie, and you're just like, I don't know, like that sounds sweet, but like definitely not earned.
I thought it was cool. But
yeah,
that makes sense.
So, but we'll get to it here. I'll ask you about the ending, you know, in the post-credit scene or whatever. How do you feel about the direction that they're taking this new series? And
you probably know more about like the lore and like the background of that. I know just a little bit. You know, Hasbro owning both
G.I. Joes and Transformers people.
I don't really get it. I don't know that I really like it, to be honest. Like, but I mean, maybe if I had like more of attachment to G.I. Joe, and like if I had been a kid watching G.I. Joe and Transformers, like I only really watched Transformers, so like I don't know, maybe if I knew more of that background, and I guess that there has been like comics where they've crossed over before. Um, but like, I don't know. I definitely don't want to see Transformers and GI Joe like together in a movie. So it really means nothing to me. You know what I mean? Nothing special to me personally, but maybe to other people it does, and that's cool.
Yeah. So with that, I felt the same way when I saw the card, because by the end of that movie, I thought for sure when that guy was talking to him, I was like, oh, Sector 7. Like, this is where Sector 7 comes into play, which is where Transformers, the original one with Shia LaBeouf and everything, was Sector 7. And they were the people that were like monitoring like all this alien activity and robotic Autobot stuff going on the planet. And they had Megatron and the Cube and the Allspark and all that stuff. And so like it's immediately where my mind went to, and then I like flip over the card, it's like G.I. Joe, and I was like, what? Like, what? Like, how do these things mix? And so after like a little bit of research, I found out like, yes, they crossed over in comic books and did things like that because it's the Hasbro verse, and that's basically what they're trying to create, is the Hasbro verse. So wait for Ninja Turtles to show up in this universe, people. But
oh my goodness,
it's been a thing since the Shia LaBeouf movies came out that people have been asking for this. So yes, it has been in the wings for 18, 20 years, and people have wanted to, or 15 years or so, and people are like, where is this? Like, I want to see this. Like, why aren't they together? And blah blah blah. And so for a lot of people, it was a big thing. I'm skeptical. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm skeptical. I'm optimistically skeptical right now. Like, I want it to do well. I don't know how they're going to tie it in. And that's why I said maybe his dad was part of the G.I. Joes. And like, that's why they recruited him. And maybe it's like, something that they can use. But seeing Transformers, in my mind, fight against Cobra right now just seems like something ridiculous. But maybe that's their plan. And I've heard a couple of different theories and stuff that they're going to do to like kind of sink in G.I. Joes with Transformers, but they're going to have to take a couple years, and I don't want them to rush it. And after this movie, it scares me that they're going to rush it. And I take 6-7 years, guys, to like make a couple different movies that are going to connect, like have a few different small characters that are in both worlds that you can focus on that are going to make it work. Like, have your own separate G.I. Joe movie, or like a G.I. Joe specific like character movie, another character movie, like another thing that happens in Transform. Like, they just have to plan it out correctly for me to actually invest in that idea. But yeah. It's very much DC like you to me, and I don't want them to do that.
To me, it reminds me a little bit about how, like, there have been in the past, obviously separate Marvel and DC, but there have been in the past also crossover comics between Marvel and DC. And, like, to me, that's just against my religion. Like,
what?
Like
DC and Marvel?
Like the crossover, like, it's not for me. Like, so I've never read any of those crossover comics. I never want to. I know they've talked about it. I never want to see a DC Marvel movie. Like, I don't want to see Superman fight Captain America or that sort of thing. I don't want to see it. So this kind of reminds me of that a little bit.
It's like slightly different, but I get what you're saying.
It is slightly different, yeah.
Because it's almost like I can't even compare it.
The reason I'm comparing it too is because, like, some of the comic creators, like I believe Jack Kirby has done both Marvel comics and some DC comics. So,
and they've done it in the comics too. They've done, the Marvel DC thing.
Yeah.
This is like very much like, I don't know how to feel about it. When I saw that, and everything was coming together in that scene, I was like, like, do I care? Like, should I be disappointed? Like, should I be hopeful for the future of this franchise? It was like up in the air because I don't think that I've seen anything like it. So, but yes, yeah, I was like, I'm skeptical for sure. I don't know how giant freaking robots blasting each other is going to work with like human soldiers running on the ground. I guess I did that well in the first movie, or the first kind of live action franchise, with the army handling that, but like that wasn't GI Joe's. Like, you would expect a lot more from them and their participation in the fact. So I don't know exactly how they're going to handle it, but it could work, but it could also fail miserably.
Yeah.
And that's more of the feeling I get. So yes, I'm on the same page. I'm on the same page. I'm also very skeptical. Yeah. So
Gotcha.
We'll find out, man. We'll find out. Up
We'll
in
see.
the air. Up in the air. G.I. Joe's, Transformers. I guess they might make it work. I don't have no idea.
Well, I think, bottom line, we both really enjoyed the movie. Thought it was still pretty solid. Like you, I'd probably say 7.58. And I would also say that, this one, the first Transformers, and Bumblebee, those are the three that I believe are the best. And they're the only three of the movies that I would rewatch.
Yes, definitely.
Personally.
Definitely.
Yeah. I only feel inclined to rewatch those three.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty sweet
Mark
movie.
Wahlberg, who's that guy? You know?
Looking forward to the next one. Hopefully the next one will be good.